Great Depression was caused by a cycle of events. It started out with people buying the margin and speculation, which was people who would buy stocks for a quick profit. After the stock market crash of 1929 caused a scare to the people, and they would react by withdrawing their money from the bank and keep it stashed away. This led to the uneven distribution of wealth, which caused a decreased amount of goods and overproduction, and in result caused unemployment. Also, the government was accused of making depression worse by enacting the Smoot-Hawley Tariff Act, which dramatically reduced international trade. The Great Depression had a great economical effect on Americans. People became homeless, which would lead to the creation of Hooverville. Hooverville was a popular name for a town of cardboard boxes and shacks of homeless people. The residents begged for food and went to soup kitchens. They often used terms like Hoover blanket, a newspaper blanket, Hoover flag, an inside-out pocket, and Hoover leather, which was a cardboard on the worn-through sole of the shoe. Many lacked food, shelter, and would get food from soup kitchens or started bread lines. The Dust Bowl was an agricultural damage done to American lands in Oklahoma, Texas, Colorado, New Mexico, and Kansas. This was caused by drought and decades of farming without prevention methods of erosion, which led to an unusual severe drought. Due to farmers' deep plowing killed natural grasses, which would trap the moisture in soil and held it in place. This caused dry soil and soon became dust. With combinations of dry dust and high winds, caused large dark clouds which halted farming and blew crops away. The New Deal was the name of many programs Franklin D. Roosevelt gave in order to provide relief to the unemployed, reform of businesses, and recovery of the economy. Programs such as the NRA, SEC, and WPA were created. National Recovery Association organized thousands of businesses. Securities and Exchange Commission required that investors receive financial and other significant information for public sale. Working in Progress Administration employed people for projects like building roads and bridges. Also, FDR and the government gained more power because of the desperate need to pull the country out of the Depression, which allowed FDR to create the New Deal. Later on, World War II will eventually pull America out of the Great Depression. After World War I, the defeated Germans signed the Treaty of Versailles. This caused Germany to lose a significant portion of its territory, become in debt in order to pay for the damage of World War I, and demilitarize. In Italy, Benito Mussolini, as a fascist dictator, he hated the Treaty of Versailles because it did not benefit Italy, so he organized fascist supporters and then took control of the country. Like Hitler, he wanted to control and take over Europe, and went on to destroy it. In Germany, Adolf Hitler came into power in 1933 as Chancellor of Germany. He quickly turned around the German economy, which would give him many followers and help lead to his plan of world domination. Hitler then remilitarized the German army and would invade much of Europe. Places like Russia, parts of Africa, and he later annexes Austria, claims the Sudetenland, and occupies Czechoslovakia. One of Hitler's social policies was the idea of a French count. This idea was called eugenics, and Hitler believed in social Darwinism as well. He would apply survival of the fittest to humans. Due to the failing economy, he blamed the Jews and thought that the way to regain our health was to only by eliminating all the Jews. So Hitler and his Nazi organization and some collaborating governments and recruits killed around 11 to 14 million people. This included 6 million Jews, homosexuals, Soviet POWs, gypsies, and the physical and mentally handicapped. They died in concentration camps, ghettos, and mass executions. While this is going on, the reaction of the world is silent. Great Britain and France does not intervene because they do not wish for another European war, and the U.S. was hurting from the Great Depression and began to isolate themselves from the world in order to resolve the depression. Only when Hitler invades Poland is when the Allies intervene to stop Hitler. The attack of Pearl Harbor was a surprise attack of the Japanese, which caused a great amount of damage in a short amount of time. This was Japan's retaliation in the United States embargo between the two. It gave the people the silent anger that led up to Congress declaring war on Japan. After Pearl Harbor, FDR's Executive Order 9066 made it possible that all people of Japanese ancestry living on the west coast of the United States would be imprisoned. They would be surrounded by barbed wire and held in camps. Over 110,000 Japanese Americans were detained and scouted over the interior West in isolated deserts areas of Arizona, California, Utah, Idaho, Colorado, and Wyoming. After declaring war on Japan, the United States used a strategic plan of island hopping, taking control of Japanese most valuable bases. Two turning points of battles were Battle of Midway and Battle of the Coral Sea. The Battle of Midway was the decisive battle of the war between the U.S. and Japan. In Japan, two atomic bombs called the Little Boy and the Fat Man were dropped on Hiroshima and Nagasaki, which was an executive order by President Harry S. Truman and killed many Japanese lives but saved many U.S. soldiers. Hitler thought that France and Britain wouldn't really defend Poland, so on September 1st, 1939, he staged a Polish attack for an excuse to invade Poland. He used a warfare strategy called blitzkrieg. It had 3 steps to it. First, you use an air raid to destroy the location. He then sent in tanks to round up the enemy, and finally sent in the infantry to defeat the enemy and occupy the country. On May through June of 1940, Battle of Dunkirk took place with British ships that saved over 300,000 Allied troops from German attacks in France. After France fell, British stood alone against Germany. Night bombings occurred to take down Britain, which sooner resulted in blitzkrieg warfare method against Britain. The Battle of Britain was Western Europe's last stand. Great Britain was saved because of their geography. Due to being an island, made it hard for Hitler to continue to use his blitzkrieg. Also, because of their new technology with advanced radar and containing Enigma in order to break codes. Due to that, Germany could never effectively use its army to take over Britain. So Hitler gives up the British invasion and focuses on invading Eastern Europe. On the Eastern Front, the Russian winter of 1942 slowed the Nazi progress, and later the Russians and United States united and pushed the Nazis back to Germany. After World War I, the League of Nations approved of creating a national home for the Jewish people. The Jewish people and the Arabs were split into 2 different states, and ever since Israel declared independence, there has been a regional conflict between the two. After World War II, the UN was a long-term effect. It was declared by the United Allied Countries of World War II under the Atlantic Charter. Due to the end of the war and death of FDR, the relationship between the United States and Soviet Union became to decline and sooner caused the political tensions and military actions between the two, which began the start of the Cold War.